My name is Sophia, and at 26 years old, I find myself in an unexpectedly challenging phase of life. I work for an engineer company in Bath, a role that taps into my creative spirit. From an outsider's perspective, my life appears effortlessly content. However, beneath that facade lies a tangled web of family dynamics. A year ago, life took a sharp turn when the company my father worked for went bankrupt, sending shockwaves through our financial stability. This upheaval forced me to leave my independent life in the city and move back to my childhood home to help support my family financially. Now, I live there with my parents and my younger sister, Ellie. Our family's reliance on my income has become a daily challenge. Just the other day, as we discussed dinner plans, my mother suggested pork steaks, to which I had to remind her of our strained budget. We're already out of money for food this month, and it's not even halfway through, I pointed out, frustrated. Ellie then chimed in, accusing me of not contributing enough. Despite my substantial contribution of $6,000 a month, she argued it was insufficient due to rising living costs. Her words sparked anger in me, especially since she isn't working and contributes nothing financially. If you think it's not enough, maybe you should try earning some money yourself, I retorted sharply. My mother quickly defended Ellie, suggesting it was hard for her to find a job, which only added to my frustration. I couldn't help but feel that my efforts were being unfairly dismissed, and my contributions were enabling Ellie's lack of initiative. In a heated moment, I proposed a drastic change, selling the house and moving to our grandmother's hometown in Queens. She runs a successful Italian restaurant there, and we could potentially work with her, enjoying the perks of free meals and a change of scenery. However, the physical demands of the restaurant work and my grandmother's strict management style were deterrents for my mother. As tensions rose, my father attempted to offer a lighter perspective by noting Ellie's contributions to household chores, though they seemed minimal at best. This only increased my resentment, as the responsibilities I shouldered felt overwhelmingly disproportionate. In the midst of this ongoing family strife, I couldn't help but feel that practical solutions were being overlooked. Ellie is 24. She could at least look for a part-time job, I suggested, hoping to find some middle ground. However, my mother dismissed the idea, claiming Ellie was too busy helping at home. Frustrated and feeling misunderstood, I began to question the sustainability of our current arrangement. The constant financial strain, coupled with the lack of support and understanding from my family, made every day more difficult. As I navigated these turbulent waters, I hoped for a compromise that would bring not only financial relief, but also a sense of fairness and shared responsibility. Each morning, I rise early to prepare breakfast for my family and pack my father's lunchbox. In addition to these daily responsibilities, I manage our finances and handle tax payments. Despite my efforts, my parents have always shown a preference for my sister, Ellie. From childhood, she has been the favorite, possibly due to her refined and charming appearance, which has always set her apart. It might seem obvious to others that I should leave such a situation, but due to various complex reasons, moving out isn't a simple option for me. Living under these circumstances brings daily stress. Time seemed to pass unnoticed until one day, I realized Ellie hadn't just gone out for the day. She was missing from the house entirely. After a couple of days, when she still hadn't returned, I started to suspect something was amiss. Upon returning home one evening, I overheard my parents discussing in the living room. They excitedly spoke of Ellie. I can't wait for the souvenirs from Hawaii. Ellie is really lucky. Right now, she must be relaxing on the beautiful beaches of Hawaii and enjoying meals at delicious restaurants. Maybe we should join her next time. Shocked, I interrupted. Wait, what are you both talking about? Is Ellie in Hawaii right now? They looked at me, puzzled, and confirmed, yes, that's right. Struggling to keep up with this revelation, I questioned how she could afford such a trip, considering she had no money of her own. I had even been scrimping on personal indulgences to save money. They explained, actually, she won it in a sweepstakes. Ellie has always been lucky with these things. Though surprised, I decided to tentatively accept their explanation. However, the next day at work, I received an alarming call from a credit card company I seldom use, informing me of high charges totaling $2,700 over the past 5 days, a sum I certainly did not spend. My suspicions immediately turned to Ellie. Although she had won the trip, including the hotel and flight, she would need money for other expenses. I confronted Ellie over the phone. "Ellie, what are you doing? Explain yourself." "Oh, I'm surprised you called, sis. I thought you were expecting souvenirs," she joked. Cutting through her jest, I pressed, "You've been using my credit card without permission, haven't you?" "It was an oversight," she replied nonchalantly, which only fueled my anger. I regretted not realizing sooner that my room had been invaded. How can you justify using someone else's credit card? It's fraudulent, a crime. But it's different among family members, Sophia. "You really should relax more," she retorted. "How could you spend $20,700 in just 5 days? It's impossible to rack up such a large amount on a free trip, excluding airfare and accommodation," I argued. "I had to pay for tourist activities, shopping, dining, and transportation," she explained, citing expenditures at luxury restaurants and branded goods stores. The conversation underscored the ongoing disregard for my efforts and privacy, deepening the strains within our family dynamics. It all started when the expenses on the card spiraled out of control, hitting an excessive $304,000, which was simply inexcusable. "What were you thinking?" I demanded, unable to hide my irritation. My sister's nonchalant reply as she cheerfully informed me that she used the card because it was nearing expiration and then swiftly ended the call, left me utterly speechless. In the days that followed, she tried to reach out several times, but I chose not to respond. Eventually, she left a voicemail admitting her mistake and acknowledging her foolishness, which ironically made me laugh that evening. Upon my return home, my parents were quick to confront me, puzzled by my calm demeanor despite my sister Ellie's dire situation abroad. They couldn't understand why I had blocked the card, prompting a heated explanation from me about the unrecognized transactions that led me to take immediate action. My avoidance of the situation only made Ellie turn to our parents for help. They were dismayed by my apparent indifference and accused me of being cold-hearted. "Just because we're family doesn't mean it's okay to misuse my card to rack up $20,700, I argued. They retorted that she had planned to buy us souvenirs with it, questioning my lack of consideration. In response, I played them the message Ellie had left on my answering machine, where she crudely demanded that I make the card usable again since our parents' cards were maxed out and no longer useful for payments. Her sharp tone and the audacity to call them stingy revealed her true intentions. Hearing this, my parents' frustration turned into a mix of panic and anger as they rushed to check the state of their own finances. Moments later, their furious voices echoed from their room. They were livid at the realization that Ellie had taken liberties with their bank book and cards without permission. As their initial support for Ellie waned, they began to see the situation through my eyes. However, even as they acknowledged the gravity of her actions, they still hoped their assets remained untouched. Their shifting stance only deepened my disappointment. "Why don't you increase her credit limit and sort out the repayment so she can continue spending?" I challenged them sarcastically, highlighting the irony of their earlier defense of Ellie. They reluctantly admitted they had no savings left, which put Ellie in an even more precarious situation abroad. As the reality of our financial predicament settled in, my father turned to me, his voice filled with desperation. "Sophia, we will start." But I knew that fixing this mess wouldn't be simple or quick. In a recent heartfelt vow, we committed to continually supporting our family together, imploring everyone's assistance for our united effort. Amidst the conversation, a surprising revelation unfolded. Influenced by my father's gestures, my mother, too, adopted a posture of humility before me. My initial reaction was tinged with sarcasm, questioning the timing of their apologies. Despite this, my mother earnestly pleaded for a chance to alter her approach, vowing to better support everyone moving forward, promising no harm to anyone involved. As this scene unfolded, I couldn't help but laugh softly, reflecting deeply on an appropriate response. Later, seizing a moment alone, I retrieved a credit card I had discreetly discovered, which was still valid and unused. Suggesting a family trip, I encouraged them to gift the card to my sister, Ellie, for a holiday getaway. Delighted by the idea, my parents quickly reached out to her and began planning the trip, while I took care of booking their flights to Hawaii online. Watching them prepare was a joyful sight. After the trip, upon their return, Ellie warmly thanked me for the Hawaiian vacation. Although she arrived empty-handed, expecting no gifts, the joy they expressed was enough. Yet, it seemed their gratitude had faded just as quickly as it had appeared. 4 days post their return, I was brimming with anticipation, ready to set in motion a plan I had meticulously crafted. In a calm yet profound tone, I hinted at a significant change, revealing my impulsive decision to sell our house. As I disclosed this, my parents and sister stood in shock, noticing the for sale sign at our home's entrance. I explained further that a university friend, now a buyer's agent, had shown interest in our property for some time. Initially, I had resisted selling, considering the cost-effectiveness of maintaining our ancestral home. However, reflecting on the benefits of independence and financial autonomy, I decided to sell while they were away, and arrangements were already in place for the move. My parents protested, claiming it was illegal to sell the home unilaterally. I responded calmly, revealing a pivotal detail. They were unaware that the property was legally in my name. I reminded my father of the time he approached me for help with the property taxes, which led to the transfer of ownership under the condition that I would handle the financial responsibilities. Thus, with a blend of nostalgia and resolve, I stood ready to embrace a new chapter of life, one marked by freedom and self-determination, even as the legacy of our family home lingered in the balance. I kept writing the narrative without abandoning my residence, which was under my ownership. The aim was to find a way to evict you and sell the property. It was challenging to find the right moment as you were constantly around. However, an opportunity arose when I managed to send you to Hawaii according to the plan. With everyone away, I was able to sell the property smoothly. As I had mentioned before, the luggage had already been shipped to the new home, so there was no need for concern, and the transportation for the move was scheduled to arrive shortly. Yes, our grandmother was looking forward to welcoming everyone. She was excited to have us and, after a conversation, had agreed to house everyone temporarily to bring some sense back into the situation. Upon hearing about the move, my parents and sister were stunned. They protested that they didn't want to move to grandma's. Understanding their reluctance, I pointed out that without a home or jobs, their options were limited. Moreover, there were outstanding payments due on a credit card that they thought was in my name. However, it turned out the card was registered under someone else's name, which shocked my mother when she verified it. The card belonged to Ellie, who had obtained it during her brief stint at her first job, which she left because it wasn't the right fit. Unaware, she hadn't used the card, which now bore an enormous debt incurred by its usage. Faced with no other choice, the responsibility to clear the debt fell on Ellie, as the card was in her name. Everyone had to prepare themselves for a new routine of daily chores and work at Grandma's restaurant. Under the strict supervision of Grandma and her experienced staff, my family started working at her establishment in Queens. They learned the ropes, albeit with difficulty and tears. The fraudulent charges, which amounted to $304,000 on my card, were eventually repaid by Ellie under Grandma's strict instructions. While my original plan was to simply sell the house and settle the debts, Grandma intervened by recovering the living expenses I had previously paid and arranged for a portion of my parents' salaries to be redirected to me later. I relocated to an apartment closer to my job, allowing me to start anew and live independently. Now, in my peaceful evenings, I enjoyed the solitude and the city view from my balcony. During one such evening, Grandma's name flashed on my phone. Hesitant, I answered. She inquired about my well-being and shared updates about Ellie and my parents. They were starting to adapt, with Ellie actively participating in the restaurant work and my parents reflecting on past events. Grandma expressed sympathy, acknowledging the burdens family can sometimes pose, yet reminding me of the support they also require. Her voice wavered with emotion as she hoped for eventual reconciliation, leaving me to ponder the complexity of family ties and the potential for forgiveness. Grandma, always wise and patient, spoke to me gently over the phone. "Take your time, dear. There's no need to hurry. Let your heart find peace." I nodded to myself, absorbing her advice. "Understood, Grandma. I'll think everything through," I assured her before ending the call. As I gazed out the window at the cityscape, the setting sun painted the horizon, and night began to fold over the urban expanse. Alone with my thoughts in the dimming light, a storm of emotions surged within me. Anger and sadness were still present, but amidst the turmoil, a flicker of hope for what might come next started to glow. Back in my room, my eyes caught a family photo on the dresser. In it, a younger Ellie and I were laughing with our parents. Those memories of happier times made me wish we could return to those carefree days, yet the stark reality pulled me back. As life moved on, I found my stride again. At work, I led a new project, and my days began to feel full and meaningful. One evening, after a long day, an unexpected call came from an unknown number. With a slight hesitation, I answered. "Hello, this is Sophia." "It's me, Ellie," came a voice, much changed from the confident and somewhat arrogant tone she once had. It was softer now, unsure. Surprised, I responded, "Ellie, what's happened? Is everything okay? I'm sorry to call suddenly. I want to meet you in person." "I need to talk," Ellie replied, her voice carrying a new humility and sincerity I hadn't heard before. "Why do you want to meet?" I asked, my voice calm but curious about her intentions. Ellie's reply was tremulous yet composed. "Big sis, I need to apologize sincerely. I don't think a phone call can truly express how I feel. I'd like to see you face to face." Listening quietly, I felt her earnestness. "If it's too hard for you, I understand," she added softly. After a pause, I replied, "Okay, let's meet next Saturday at 4 p.m. at the cafe by the station." Hearing this, Ellie's relief was palpable. "Thank you so much, big sis," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. After we hung up, I took a moment to steady my emotions. Despite my reservations, I held onto a sliver of hope that this meeting might mend old wounds. On the day of our meeting, I arrived at the cafe early, feeling a mix of anxiety and anticipation. As the time approached, I watched the door anxiously. Then it opened, and Ellie walked in. She looked different, simpler, more genuine, without makeup, dressed plainly, her eyes showing a definitive change. She approached slowly and sat down. "Big sis, I am truly sorry," she began, her voice low and sincere. In that moment, I realized how much we had both changed and how this conversation might just be the beginning of a new chapter. In that moment, I felt a profound shift in her demeanor, leaving me temporarily at a loss for words. "Ellie," I began hesitantly, but she swiftly carried on, her voice trembling as she held back tears. "We were at our grandmother's house where she was working for the first time, and it was there she realized her deep dependence on me over the years. She confessed how much she had taken my support for granted, always expecting me to put aside my own needs to help our family." As tears streamed down her cheeks, Ellie reflected on her past actions and repeatedly expressed sincere apologies. She shared how working at our grandmother's house opened her eyes to the many ways she had leaned on me and the insights she gained into our family dynamics and her own self-awareness. I listened in silence. Each word she spoke seemed to melt away the long-standing resentment and sorrow within me. As she spoke, I felt the weight of heavy emotions lifting from my heart. "Thank you, Ellie. I appreciate you acknowledging my feelings," I responded once she had finished. We continued to converse for several hours, discussing recent happenings in our lives and the challenges we faced. This conversation marked a significant step toward mending our relationship. As we were about to part ways, Ellie handed me an envelope with gratitude, containing money she had earned while working at our grandmother's place. "This is just a start, but I'll do everything I can," she promised. Accepting the envelope, I sensed her personal growth and felt a warmth in my heart. Months later, I visited my grandmother's home again and reunited with my parents. They too offered sincere apologies, and I could see they had grown much like Ellie had. That evening, we shared a meal together as a family for the first time in ages, and I truly felt the warmth of our bond rekindling. Although I wasn't ready to forgive everything just yet, witnessing my family's efforts to make amends step by step filled me with hope for our future. Before I left, my grandmother shared some wise words with me. "Sophia, you have certainly grown strong. But remember, as vital as that strength is, maintaining your kindness is what matters most," she advised. Embraced by my grandmother, I couldn't hold back my tears, sensing this might be the start of a renewed relationship with my family. I left feeling the burden on my heart lighten, hopeful for what the future holds.